Hey Shane, excited to chat again. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks, TJ. Excited to get going with episode number 2 here.
Let's do it. A lot happening in our own worlds, but also in the space itself. But I know you brought something up first. Let's kind of chat about it because it's more half AI, half business here. But the somebody released some sort of numbers about how many people in America are actually paying for AI, and the number is 2%, which is crazy because I thought it was 5%. Last I had heard before this, it was 5, which I already thought was like super low. Now it's 2. Like, holy crap. What is going on? What does this mean? Like, how do you think about this number?
Yeah, so it was PNC Bank in April. Roughly 2% of US households pay for a generative AI subscription, meaning anything from ChatGPT Plus, Claude Pro, Grok Premium, or Perplexity. That's actually up 155% year over year, but that's still nothing when it comes down to the grand scheme of things. So that tells me that we are still in the age of consumer AI where they don't see the value in it to pay for it, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. Because if I look at someone who is in that exact demographic, which I always refer to my wife hates AI. She uses ChatGPT to like answer random little questions, but she's still very much a Google search person. But she has about 7 or 10 other different apps on her iPhone that she does pay for that have no AI involved, which it's kind of crazy to me that people aren't seeing the value in these tools, but they are productivity tools. Now it'd be interesting to see how many, and maybe I can look this up while we're talking, but from the business point of view, because that's households, how many businesses have adopted AI?
Yeah.
You're gonna go search that on Grok, but
Yeah, take a look at it, and I'll chat about that for a second. Like, um, obviously it's going to be much higher, but I think even with the like, our business is paying for it. Um, Even if they are, first of all, that doesn't even mean their employees are using it, right? I think that's one of the problems, right? Is right now there's a bifurcation between the employees, people like us who are like all in on it, doing crazy stuff, and then you get the stragglers who either hate it or just don't want to change. So they may have it, their company's paying for it for them, but they're not really using it other than the way you already said, right? Just, oh, rewrite this for me, just simple stuff. Now, I will say though, as I think about it for on the consumer side, you know, for you and I, I'm paying $200 a month for both right now for Claude and ChatGPT. Plus, I just signed up for Lenny's bundle for the second time, which I can go over why I did that recently as well. But why am I spending that money? It's to build things primarily for work, for business, right? As an entrepreneur. As I think about it, like, and maybe you tell me what you're thinking too. But if you assume you had a normal job making $80,000 a year and you're fat, dumb, and happy, right? You're just like going through your life. You do your thing. You drink your beers after work and like whatever. What really, what I haven't thought about this before. What value is there to AI to a person who just like works a home service company? Not the owner, of course, because an owner that's different, right? But just like an employee, why would they want to pay for it? Or specifically ChatGPT and Claude, because I could totally see why they should pay for Suno, right? Like, or Higgsfield, like making videos, making music, like that's just fun, non-business stuff. I don't know. How do you think about that?
Well, I would say that like most of it is probably just like, again, we're on this like bubble on X on YouTube. If you're in that algorithm and you're locked into it, you see all these cool things. But like if I rewind my life to like before AI, like my algorithm was like sports and like I don't know, that's pretty much it. That's all I looked up was sports highlights on YouTube and maybe some other newsy topics. So if you haven't even dove into that side of things, like you're talking Higgsfield, we're talking like people making movies with AI, like you don't even know about it. So
Yeah.
just for a second here, like let's talk about just like our social circles, right? Like mine and yours are very different. Like I'm up in Canada in the middle of nowhere in a rural farm town of 500 people. You're based out of near Houston, Texas, which is like arguably one of the
Yeah.
highest tech forward places in America outside of, I would say, California, right? And so like my bubble, people have literally no idea about anything about AI other than ChatGPT can make images right now. When I talk to them about my part-time work with like helping people implement AI into their small businesses, they have literally no idea what I'm talking about. They still call Claude Claude. which might be a French
Dude,
thing.
what is that? Remember, Greg Eisenberg used to say that, and I was like, "Why is he saying that?" And he knew it was wrong. Is that a Canadian thing?
It's a French Quebec thing. So like,
Oh, okay.
people are actually named Claude in French Quebec. It's a popular name, but it's called Claude there because of, the French accent. So, and he's from Montreal, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
But anyways, I like when I think about that in my social circles, and people are getting hammered with it, right? Like this is the thing I hear about, in my social circles is people are sick of getting head on, advertisements and everything's AI. And I think the people that are going to be winning are just going to staple AI onto a product and not talk about anything about it. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I saw this tweet the other day about someone who made an app, and it was like an AI whatever tracker, right? And they weren't getting a lot of traction with people, especially Gen Alpha, the younger generations, because they're actually rejecting AI pretty heavily. So they took AI out of all of their marketing and out of the name, and their subscriptions grew 32% overnight. It's still AI, but they just don't advertise anything about AI, and people started using it. So I find that interesting. And I'll put one more point onto this too, because I'm on a ramble right now. I just saw something about the depugging and the Great Unplugging, which is where people are actually. So I think 80% of people, the sentiment towards AI in the US is actually negative. I don't know if you've seen that at all or anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's also this huge separation between people online building with AI and people that are trying to get offline in general. So I think there's like this very weird like lull we're in between, where it's kind of mainstream and people just building with it still. So
yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, definitely the bifurcation of things. You're either going to lean heavily into it because it makes total sense to business primarily, and then maybe some personal use cases, and then a lot of people are going to lean completely away from it. But even that doesn't even just mean AI, but like tech, right? Like lean away from phones. That's why us in the local space think why the local media play is so big, because that's my other main thing that I do is people are going to want to do more in-person stuff, right? And so the way to, you can facilitate that if you own the local, media brand in your community, right? So because so many people are going to be like, I don't want to be at my computer, I don't want to be on my phone, I don't want to watch TV, like I want to do something, I want to interact with people, I want to be physical, I want to have human connection, right? And then or people are going to go the opposite. They're going to have AI girlfriends and they're going to like sit in their basement all day. Like it's going to be strange. By the way, one thing you just said that I think is spot on, and I had thought about this a ton, and it's actually starting to happen. We can talk about this too. It's AI related, is what you said about, well, it's still all AI. You just don't talk about it. And that makes so much sense, because AI in general, let's say the main way we think about it is it's a technology behind the scenes. Like it's doing things, but you don't want the AI itself. You want the outcome of AI, right? So it's like, who cares how it came to me, how it got there? I just want it to do what I want it to do. I want the outcome, right? I want the result. And what it reminds me of is crypto. So I'm even though I don't pay as close attention anymore, I'm still a big proponent of crypto, and have been doing it for the last 5 or 6 years. And this is what we all talked about in crypto, right? Which is like, crypto is just the underlying technology. In the future, nobody's going to know or care whether crypto is powering their payments or whatever they're doing. It's just how it's happening behind the scenes, and you just won't even use the term anymore, right? And so anyway, I think you're right. It's similar with AI and crypto. But the interesting part about this that's related here, kind of on the local media or media in general side, was it Cloudflare? I think just announced that they're going to make it very easy to do micropayments. So there's like the perfect combo of AI, crypto, media. It's kind of the intersection of all these things, where you'll be able to, in theory, pay instead of, whenever you want to read an article at the New York Times or something, and it says, pay $10 a month or whatever it is. Instead, and I'm sure they'll keep that option, but it'll be like, do you want to pay 20 cents to read this article? Right. And if it's as easy as just push a button, like you would have your Stripe or whatever, PayPal, like built in, it would just have a button there that says make micropayment or whatever, pay 20 cents. You hit the button and then you can read the article. And I think that will be huge in a lot of ways in the future, because people are sick of subscriptions, and I don't want to pay $10 a month. I only read 1 or 2. So micropayments could potentially be a solution. Now that will be a huge behavior change, which behavior changes in people is always way slower than you think, always. but it still could be huge. So yeah, I think you're right about a lot of that is the point.
Yeah. I think one thing too, you know, and you were just talking about it, is for the past year and a half or 2 years, I've been just reading the descriptions or summaries that Claude or ChatGPT has been giving me of websites. And actually, I found myself recently just clicking the link to the website or the blog or the article or whatever that they've been giving me, and actually going myself, because they miss some very, very key things in their descriptions. So I'm actually now going back to like reading more websites myself rather than just relying on the AI generated summary that like they put in the chat, which is kind of interesting, because for a long time people were saying this is the death of websites. This is, you know, people aren't going to use them anymore. But if you have a really good website that has a utility that like AI still can't use, I mean, you know, we'll see. But that's interesting that Cloudflare is coming up with that. I did see that. So basically what it is in a summary is, if you're on that Cloudflare program, AI will go to your site and basically come back in the chat and be like, hey, I found this New York Times article about X. It's, you know, 0.05 of a cent to read, or whatever the you know, the monetization factor comes in at that point. So people are no longer going to be able to scrape everything they want all day, every day, which actually Anthropic just shilled out 1.5 billion to you know, a bunch of the book publications that they trained models on. I don't know if you saw that yesterday or not, but
I've been hearing that forever. I guess I didn't know it actually went through, but yeah. Actually, dude, so what I was just saying about the micropayments, I was only, again, this is why things get so confusing. I was only thinking about the human side of it. Okay, so you're talking about, which is actually super interesting, because again, you and I have this media background, obviously, in understanding how much, you know, AI scraping is potential, you know, already hurting media companies, publishers, but obviously will probably get a lot worse as AI gets better and people start using it more. So, but to your point, if micropayments could be used by the AIs, so when you say, hey, go read, you know, go find me blank information, you probably would, like, maybe people will like set a budget or something, right? It's like, oh, I have $1 a day for when you go look for information. And then the AI, when it's, you know, obviously smarter, can just be like, oh, this article does seem like it's ideal. Yeah, it's worth the, you know, 5 cents to get this data, versus going and trying to find other ways around it. And then the AI pays the publisher for reading that article once. That could very well happen. And if that were to happen, dude, that would probably be hugely beneficial for that would turn AI from a negative potentially for media to a massive positive.
It would be huge. Yeah, people would. I think it's all going to be tokenized. I think everything in the future is just going to be tokenized.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I think
100%.
like part of your like $20 a month Claude subscription, they'll just start taking tokens from you for reading these websites, and then Anthropic will pay the bill on their behalf, or some it'll be something worked out like that, because there's not a chance in hell that, you know, I run an Opus 4.8 level research and then all of a sudden a Stripe payment pops up every single prompt I have. I do hundreds of prompts a day. I'm not paying 15.15 cents every time it reads something for me. So they'll have to figure out some sort of way to tokenize it or something. But yeah, it's interesting. For sure. It'll be the same way you use APIs, right? Like, you know, when you use an API, like for like Google, like Gemini within Claude to like create an image and you pay your 15 cents or whatever, I think it'll be tokenized like that.
And it's, yeah, and like I'm using OpenRouter for sometimes, ideally not, but I do occasionally. And like OpenRouter, same thing, right? It's like, I have a budget. It has all these different potential LLMs in there that you can use. I even have different APIs for different use cases, right? So like, hey, maybe this thing that I set up, I only want it to be able to spend $10 a month, but then this other thing that I might use it for, I might want 50 because it's more important, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And there'll be just different ways to do that. So again, I think this is the world that a lot of crypto people saw, you know, multiple years ago, was like that AI agents are going to want to use crypto, or really just when you hear crypto, it's like tokens, right? To your point, it's tokens representing something on the blockchain, which in turn represents dollars, because stable coins, blah, blah. There was a big thing with stable coins recently too. I mean, stable coins have been a huge thing for the last couple of years, but this is all going to happen with stable coins to the point where nobody will even know or care that the money they're spending is stable coins versus dollars. Like, what do you care? It's coming out of your Chase account. Like, it just doesn't matter, right? You're using PayPal, use Stripe, use Chase, and you're paying with stable coins versus dollars. Like, it makes no difference, right?
100%. That actually,
go ahead.
That actually leads into one of the things I was talking about on the pre-call notes of the DoorDash thing. I don't know if you
Okay,
want to get
yeah.
into that or if you had anything to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about first, but
Yeah. The 2 minutes after someone subscribes to your newsletter are the most engaged they'll ever be with your brand. And most newsletters waste it. They say thanks and that's it. But GreetForm fixes that. First thing we do is a fully customizable survey, including conditional logic. So the survey can change completely based on a reader's answers to specific questions. We also offer mid-survey leads based on their answers, like showing a homeowner's insurance quote if they say they're a homeowner. We then have an offer wall at the end of the survey, which can be just one offer, like for your own project or services, or you can have a full offer wall like Groupon that you can pull from local advertisers or the community that you're already working with. And you can work with these vendors to be getting paid per lead, which can significantly lower your acquisition costs or even get you to negative cost of acquisition, where your net positive revenue for every subscriber, which of course is a complete game changer if you were to get to that. GreetForm also allows you to easily push your data to your ESP and have it in there so that you can segment your audience for the future based on their answers if you choose to. And then finally, we even have built in media kits, really beautiful media kits where you can have multiples that pull in live data from your ESP. So this allows you to create multiple media kits, like such as one with pricing, one without. And it's a website, so it can be on your own domain on a live website that updates with your data every day from your ESP. So the more you grow, your media kit's automatically updating. This is a killer system. I hope you'll check it out. Go to greetform.com to look at it. And if you want to see how it looks as a user, we've got an examples page that has 6 different examples that you can go through to kind of feel how it works as a user. Just remember, it's fully customizable. So if you don't like something you see on there, you can change it. All right. Thanks. Back to the show. What's going on with DoorDash?
So last week I saw this tweet that went by my desk that I clicked on from DoorDash. No idea how I got into my algorithm, but they basically released a interface for agents to interact with DoorDash, and they're calling developers basically to go sign up and create AI agent tools to use DoorDash. And seemingly that wouldn't mean much to anyone, but I started thinking about that, and I was like, this is the beginning of AI agents in consumer apps where people aren't going to be purchasing things anymore. Agents will on their behalf. And so to summarize, this is exactly like the tokenization thing, with the agents interacting with, news articles online or media outlets or whatever else is online. Now soon they will be able to order your food. So I see it like this, right? You're driving home from your job. It's 5 o'clock. It's Friday. Your friends are coming over. They got kids. You just fire in a Siri or text or something, some sort of voice to text command. And hey, I got Ashley and Dave are coming over. They got 2 kids. One kid's vegan. The other one doesn't like meat. My budget's $150 for the night. We're having dinner at 7 o'clock. Food needs to be there. Then can you just order it for me? Boom. AI agent takes off, goes to DoorDash, has all those components that the person sent and the budget, and then orders the food, uses their tokens or whatever DoorDash is going to implement to do that. Your food just shows up at 7 o'clock. You didn't pick the restaurant. You didn't pick the food type or whatever. It just went and did all that stuff for you. And I thought that was like 3 or 4 years away, but apparently that's happening now. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that definitely is. I remember hearing about this concept a while ago with Alexa. I remember years ago, it was like, oh, you'll just speak to Alexa and say what, that you want pizza and you want this. And that seemed to not have come to pass, although I don't use those voice tools like that. But I don't know if people do. I'm assuming not. But I think that's also because the tech just isn't, Alexa, Siri, whatever, these things suck, right? Although I assume that's going to change very soon and they'll pick up this tech finally. But yeah, I mean, I think what you're describing in general, this ability to just say, hey, here's what I want, just like figure it out, is definitely going to happen. Now, I will push back a little bit. I'm not sure that'll happen as much in the food realm, just because I think people are very picky about things. Like the tech can work, right? It's just, will people actually want to do that? Maybe not. Or at minimum, they'll probably pick the restaurant, right? They'll be like, hey, I want Domino's. Go get me my order that I, ordered last time when I had, it was like 3 or 4 pizzas, something like that. And we had some cheesy bread, whatever it was. It was in June. Can you just reorder that one? and then like it'll just do it.
Yeah.
But I think there's other things where people won't care as much, where they will do that, right? Where brand doesn't really matter the way food, it kind of does.
Yeah.
So, when it comes down to like ordering things, to your point, like, just order, we need more diapers. We need more, barbecue sauce, like just go order it. And like, it will pick the barbecue sauce, for you. And it will do the whole order. So yeah, I mean, but I think you're spot on that this tech is coming, and I do think this kind of stuff will probably get adopted short term slower than we think, but then, in the big picture, it'll probably be faster than we think. I think that's going to happen with a lot of this AI stuff, right? It's like normally, I even said it earlier, I'm just reflecting that people adopt things slower than you think. And that's usually true. But then at the same time, I feel like we moved from flip phones to smartphones relatively quite fast, where it just became truly the default. Like within, I mean, what iPhone, let's just call that the moment. That was 07. When did everybody have a smartphone? Like, or let's say half. When did half the population have a smartphone? I would say by like 2010, maybe 2011. I mean, 3 to 4 years, like over half the people just having it be standard is pretty damn fast, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see though. But yeah, maybe that leads into what we should talk about too, of just like the problems with AI, which I might have an interesting angle here. I'm curious what you think. I kind of gave you a little heads up, but not too much. So 2 things here. So number 1, and it's related, I signed up for Lenny's bundle again. Again, Lenny, nobody probably listens to me, so he doesn't owe me any commission, but I do not know Lenny. He's a very successful, popular person, but he has his Lenny's bundle where he has tons of AI products available as part of his Substack. If you sign up for a Substack, you get all these AI tools for free. So here, let me show it on the screen for anybody watching this. So if you want these ones in the top square, it's $400 a year. If you only care about these, it's like $200 a year. So you get a year's worth of all of these softwares. And I know I was even just talking to somebody recently who was like, oh, but I just want to use Claude. Like I don't want, or maybe even you said that too, of like, I don't want to be overwhelmed. And it's like, that is true. Number 1, you don't have to download all of them. But number 2, how many of these are like they're not competitor. Most of them are not competitors to Claude, right? I mean, some of them are a little bit, but like Granola is the recording tool, right? Notion is Notion, obviously. Linear is like a AI task management tool. Whisperflow, we talk about all the time, is kind of a mandatory software at this point. Voice tool, Railways backend, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I signed up for this again, and just to give people the value. So you pay $400 up here. I mean, again, this is me personally. I'm already using Supabase, and my bill is already over $300 a year. This is $400. It literally instantly gave me $300 the second I input this into Supabase. So like, I mean, this is just such a home run if you're using some of these tools. But anyway, the reason I signed up is because of this one, n8n, which now I'm using all these things again. But like that pushed me over the edge. I knew I needed to sign up for n8n, and I knew it was on here. So here's the, I'm curious what you think here, Shane, because we haven't talked about this yet because I only did this in the last 2 days. And so far, it already seems to be helping in a little bit, which is I have been trying to build tons and tons of, these workflow automations. Oh, every day I want you to send me an email or a Slack message that does this. I want you to recap all of the things I built yesterday and give me a summary. I want you to scrape, all the AI news and local media news, blah, 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 all these things. And like it technically, and what everybody on YouTube and Twitter says is like n8n is dead, Zapier's dead, you don't need those anymore. And all I'm finding is that every one of these things I'm trying to build, I mean, some things are obviously working well enough and are working, but like workflows specifically like this, they just break all the goddamn time, like all the freaking time. And I watched a video, I can't remember who it was, but it caught my eye. It was a YouTube video that said like, is n8n dead or not? Something like that. And I could tell the video was clearly saying no. And I was like, okay, I should give this an opinion. I had kind of written it off. And the guy explained, a bunch of reasons why in the first 5-10 minutes, that's all I listened to. And I'm like, you know what? I need to investigate this. Went to ChatGPT, asked it like, hey, my workflows, the problems I've had. How beneficial would n8n be? And it was like, yeah, for sure. This will help you a ton to prevent all these breakages because it's literally, it's a sturdy harness system for these workflows. You are trying to build everything from scratch, right? And that's why these things are A, harder than they should be, and B, they're breaking. And so I think there's a couple interesting takeaways from me, Shane. Again, I don't have a ton of, this was 2 days ago, so we'll report back in a bit how much it's helped. But number one, I think what's interesting is avoid the X YouTube people just saying, oh, everything can just be AI. You don't need any of these tools anymore. Just do it yourself, blah, blah, blah. Not that it's impossible. It's not that there's not right or wrong here. It's just like, what's the best for you and why? Because I'm non-technical. And then it's, interesting of how valuable this may be able to be for me in terms of including it in my Hermes agent system, creating more simple, easy workflows. Now, if it's as easy as I think it is right now, I can literally just drop in there, hey, I want this thing to happen, and it'll just do it, right? Which is like not how it was before. And number three, here's the real gold, because I had known about n8n before almost anybody had talked about it because of my old partner, JD, who's super smart about AI, told me about n8n a long time ago. It is so freaking complicated when you look at their UI. It is nuts, right? I mean, my brain cannot handle n8n, even Zapier. Like, I can't handle it. So that's why I wrote it off, because when I heard about it, you couldn't go to ChatGPT to get it to do it for you. Okay. Well, now you can, right? So this is the other key of what's changed is now I am not going to use n8n as a human at all. I'm never even going to look at it, right? Yeah. The CLI or whatever. I am going to go into either my Hermes agent or Codex and say, I want a workflow that does blank. It will build it in n8n for me. And this feels like potentially a game changer. So long preamble there. What do you think about it? What are your thoughts here?
I am a person who used to use make.com, Zapier, n8n, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Personally, I have found no use for them ever since AI, like probably Opus 4.6. But that's not to say that I gave them a really fair chance after, but I was creating agents and I just had no use for paying for them anymore because I just host all my agents on Relay and my code on GitHub, and I haven't had any real big issues with it. I found the n8n interface extremely confusing, way too many options. Actually, so to start, what I used to do is I would find n8n templates on either YouTube or people posting about them, and I would screenshot them, and then I would just, if they were doing what I wanted to, I would just give it to my Claude Code, and it would just recreate the entire workflow and just ask me for whatever credentials and APIs it needed. So that's it. But I'm curious to see like why you are going the n8n route and not just choosing to make your own automations hosted on your own inference.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. We'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, so it did this super fast for me. Of course, the first version sucked as always, but I don't think it wasn't an n8n issue. It was like the prompt issue. So you're the one who gave me this idea, by the way, Shane. I know this isn't rocket science, but it's still really cool. As I said, I want my own newsletter on what I care about, right? And I want it to be designed relatively well. This is kind of I created my own kind of design style, and just so then now I just tell it to use that style so I don't have to deal with ugly crap, which it almost always defaults to horribly ugly crap. But so it's like, okay, here are 3, or I guess in this case it gave 2. It's going to do between 2 and 4 stories per section of AI, digital marketing, local media, and newsletters, right? And so I told it like, I want an image in the first story only. The other stories don't get an image. I wanted smart brevity style, which is like what happened, why it matters, your move. And I want 2 to 4 stories each. And so this is basically my own daily digest of like all the interesting information. So here's, this is just the first thing that I did that like worked shockingly quickly compared to some of the other things I've done. So my answer to you, which again, this is very, and I'm not trying to, be tricky here or anything. I'm being honest of like, I just may not be as good as things as you or obviously other people as well. If you're technical, maybe you don't need this, but like as a non-technical person, trying to get things like this, even this exactly kind of concept, and I've tried this a little bit where I'm just going straight to Codex or Claude or whatever and say, I want something like this. It just doesn't come out well. Like the amount of time it takes to get it working, or I think the other problem again comes back to, I can probably get something like this to work for a day or two in Claude or Codex, and then it'll just stop happening, and I like won't know why, and it's just a pain in the butt. And so I've just had a lot of bad luck with these things just either taking way too long for something that's like cool that I want, but like what I just showed you, I'm not going to spend 4 hours like trying to get that working, right? It's like really cool and I want it, but like I'm just want to kind of throw it together pretty quick. And anytime I try these types of things, there just seem to be too many problems. And so now that I basically did this with n8n with Codex, just said, hey, this is what I want in Codex. Go do it in n8n, and now it seems to be working. And so, again, you do not need n8n or Zapier or any of these things, but for people like me who are non-technical, I think from what I've seen in 36 hours, I do think it's possible it can help a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because like the sentiment online for the last year is SaaS is dead, and then we have someone here who is working all day in Codex and Claude Code and yourself, and reverted back to a SaaS that just made it a little bit easier for them, especially for things that is the type of thing that you see online that everyone's just one-shotted this, and it should. That's something easy enough that like that Claude Code could one-shot. You could just type in a prompt, leave it for 20 minutes, come back, and then all of a sudden, like at 6 a.m., you woke up and that perfect email is there. That shouldn't be that hard for it, right? Really, at the end of the day, like HTML is just code, and those are all sources on the web. That's pretty much what it does every time you prompt it, just in a different, design. So that's funny. Also, while I was looking at that in itself, that product like would be a killer self-serve SaaS for somebody. Like if you were just like to throw up a landing page and be like, hey, like just list your interests, like politics, sports, your favorite sports teams, like blah 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 blah, like whatever else, AI news, whatever you want to do. And if you could shoot a personalized email to someone, like a personalized newsletter, like every day, that'd be pretty cool. I would probably, I don't know if I'd pay for that. I know
maybe it's one of those ideas that I think proactive business, growth mindset people really want. But if it's probably not their best business, because those type of people probably are able to figure out how to do it themselves. But you know what, this comes back to, by the way, speaking of the business ideas, you and I have talked about this a bunch of, and I know this is common enough, but again, is there a niche angle? The answer on the business side right now with AI stuff, especially if it's easy, is you have to go super niche to be able to make it work. But not only can that work, it can work really well if you go super niche, which is competitor intelligence, right? So could you build something that basically just goes and scrapes whatever's happening in a very specific niche, and then send it as an email every day to somebody so that they know what's going on with their competitors? I think that's a home run. If the information, if it's the right niche and the information is valuable enough, and that, that industry cares enough to know what's going on and enough is happening, right? If you did this in plumbing in your area, there's probably not enough happening. A plumber would be like, I don't care what they're doing. Like, what could they have done to change anything, But if it's e-commerce or, again, you have to tread the line between capable of doing it themselves versus the desire to have it and the value they'd get. There's a few angles there. But if you found it, I bet you something that you could build in a couple hours, like you said, like this, you could probably make real money from this in a specific niche.
Yeah, I would agree. I wonder who would pay for that. I'm just trying to like go through my head right now. It's funny because like that, and like your channel is AI for media brands. Like that in itself is also true for media right now too, right? Because you have access at your fingertips, or actually now just your voice, to anything. And so like the niche media is actually becoming more powerful and more worthy of the reader's eyeballs now, because of exactly like what you were just talking about. It's access to information is now free. How can you curate it or give something that's not?
Yes.
Which is cool, because that in and of itself, what you just said, is technically a media company, but framed in a way of, you pay me $10 a month for this and I'll save you an hour of your time, right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where that would come in. I want to try to start that. Like I've always wanted to try to start that. And my only thing, man, is like, I just, for some reason, my brain always goes back to a SaaS owner or a SaaS CMO or someone would want that, but would they just build it themselves for free?
That's the problem. Yes.
Yeah.
So It comes back to my software. Okay. So I just, speak plainly about all this stuff. Like my software that I built called GreetForm, which is basically a revenue generating, form system after somebody takes an action, right? So in theory, if you say like, TJ, what does it do? It's like, it's a form that, a form system that can have, it's conditional logic. It can have questions inside the form, and then it can have an offer wall at the end where you kind of pitch something or multiple things. And there's many more things that it does. But like, if you were to say like, can someone just build their own form that's at least somewhat kind of like what it is, like on their own? Yeah, you can, right? It's like not that crazy. But so if all GreetForm did was just like the super basic, oh, it makes a form and it's kind of prettier and it has a wall at the end, like you probably don't need it for just that if you're smart enough to build all these things, which again, most people are not. That's kind of the point, right, Shane? Like for now, most people couldn't now anyways. Yeah. So it's still viable in the short term, but the real thing that I've done is I've added tons of complexity and things to it that are way too complex for a regular person to do if they want these things, right? Like I have media kits built in that pull your data from your ESP. You can send the media kit directly to any business owner, depending on the answer to their question, right? I'm working on enrichment right now, enriching the data. I've built in SMS capability. It's not live yet. There's legal issues there, but like if somebody gives me some money for it, I can have SMS working. Like nobody's going to build that. Like nobody, right? For themselves.
That also at scale has network effects, right? If you build that on your own and you just run that on your own, you're dependent on you finding. Well, actually, why don't we roll back? Because I don't. Yeah. Tell me what is GreetForm?
Well, so it's solving like again. We don't need to pitch it or anything. I don't really care. I mean, what's cool, what's so exciting about it is there's really no competition to it. Nobody in the newsletter space even does it, but it's trying to solve my own, the problem that you and I have in local newsletters. Really, it's for any newsletter. You're spending money on growing, but how long does it take you to get that money back, right? So in local, let's say on average, subscribers are 50 cents, well, which is actually really good and cheap. But, selling ads can take a lot of time in SMBs locally. And so if you want to grow fast, you either have to spend a ton of money or work super hard on the sales side, et cetera. But if you have this form system that has offers that people want to take you up on inside of it, you can get paid back in the first 5 minutes of somebody subscribing, right? So let's just use a quick math example. If you had an offer in your survey or at the end that 1 in 100 people said yes to, and you got paid $50 for that lead, again, we're just making up numbers here to make it easy. So 1 in 100 people take you up on it. The company that you promoted gives you $50 a lead. You now are growing for free. You now just got 100 subscribers for free. That changes all of the math of growing a newsletter, like 100%. Because now, assuming those numbers hold, and 1 in 100 in general, we'll click on and submit for that lead. You can 5x your spend on Meta, and it costs you nothing. Okay. So now instead of growing, 50 subscribers a day, you grow 250 a day, 500 a day, right? Because it's not costing you anything because you're getting paid back by that lead vendor.
Right. So you're basically reversing the cost per acquisition from being a negative to a positive.
Yeah. And it all depends. The hard part for me, and this not only me on the owner of GreetForm, but me as a client of GreetForm for my own local newsletters, the hard part is you have to have advertisers, right? You have to make deals with your local businesses if it's local, or this works nationally too. You have to have your own like deals with these people to pay you if they get a lead. And so if you don't have many advertisers like I don't, it's not, you're not going to make money in that sense. But the other thing that's good for it, even ignoring that, just one thing alone is what I said about the media kits. So you ask a question that says, are you a business owner? Or do you work with, with a small business? Yes. Here's our media kit if you're interested in promoting your business. Yeah. Right. So now you may get paid back just because you're going to get in front of more advertisers. Even if 2% of those advertisers are now like, oh, I might want to do this. Let me pay this guy $300 for an ad or $600 a month. Well, that could pay for itself right there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's cool. First of all, like it's pretty sweet that you built that. But second of all, is like, you're in Texas, right? Do you know how many local newsletters are in Texas, or like media companies with a newsletter? Like, do you have any
A
idea?
lot.
So let's say there's,
I mean,
there's
hundreds.
pardon me.
I mean, hundreds. Yeah, probably 1,000. I mean, a lot. Yeah.
So like that right there is like you as the owner of GreetForm, if you can get that to a point where you can convince like even half of them, right? Talk, thousands of subscribers a month, like that's the mode of the network effects, right? It's like, okay, like you can build your own and then you can try to go find all the advertisers yourself, or you have 500 people in Texas and you go to the biggest, car dealership in Texas, the biggest, regional banking,
Mhm.
I don't even know. First day with the new lips, I can't even speak. You go to the biggest bank in Texas or whatever, and you go, 50,000 people a month see this form. Do you want to sponsor all of them in Texas? Like, I feel like that's the biggest difference between everyone
It,
building these micro tools for themselves, but like you still have to do a bunch of work after. Like, cool, I built this great tool, but like now what? So internal tools, that's great, but something like that,
yeah. Well,
the
that
mo-
is.
yeah,
Yeah, what you're describing is something that is on my radar that I need to start doing soon for sure. Is like, it's kind of like what Sparkloop does a little bit, right? Where they're making deals with companies like Notion and, Monday.com, whatever, so that they can have those pre-built offers so you don't have to do it yourself. That is something I'm working on, especially, could it be local, like national plus local, right? We used to talk about this a lot in advertising and in local newsletters or local media. Is like, okay, I always use the example like care.com. Care.com is a national company worth millions of dollars, but deep down, it's a local company. You need a babysitter, you need a dog walker. Like, it needs to be in your neighborhood, right? Like it can't be 2 hours away. So it's still a local company trying to solve local problems. So if I could make a deal with that, or even, anything that's physical is really local, right? Meineke Car Care, like national brand, but they have Meinekes in locations. They need people who live within 15 minutes of those to go there to get their cars fixed,
yeah, hundred
right?
percent.
If I can make deals with those. And yeah, just real quick on this too. The one that we've been running 2 of them for the last 2 weeks. This is all new, in the last 2 weeks that I got it up and running. One of the things we're promoting is a golf simulator place where you go inside to golf and hit the screen, like kind of a fancy for kind of rich older guys kind of thing. He's closing 60% of the leads that we've sent him at $200 a month.
Amazing. So, how much does GreetForm cost for them to advertise?
Well, I don't. That's between my partner who runs that newsletter and him, right?
Okay.
They make that deal. That's not a GreetForm thing, right? That's just like, hey, you made a deal with a local business, you charge them whatever the hell you want, right? You charge a restaurant $1, you charge a med spa or a estate planner, you charge them $100 a lead. Like, it's up to you.
Right. So I'm assuming because like I do indoor golf in the winter here.
Okay.
I pay for like like I think it's like $600 membership or something like that across like 3 or 4 months here in the winter or something. So I'm assuming 2 or 3 leads that he closes and he's already in the green just from that.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, for sure. My partner should be charging him a lot more money.
Right.
So yeah. But I mean, I think we just wanted to test this out. So I don't even know if he's charging him at all. But but the point is, it can work really well, right? And so yeah. But yeah. We got to close up here in a second. But because I actually have to do a demo on GreetForm. But the other key takeaway we'll talk about on the next one is like how amazing AI is. Again, it's kind of like what we talked about in the last one, right? It's amazing in so many ways. It'll just do things so fast. Like, holy crap, I can't believe this. I can't believe it did this. And then all of a sudden it'll just do things. And you're just like, why on earth did you do this? You just broke this. You completely screwed this up. Or then when one little thing's an issue, that leads you down a rabbit hole to fix 3 other things, and how it's just like so much more involved than people think. I think most people building software right now, I shouldn't say most, I don't know. The kinds of people who talk about it, let's say the influencer types, a lot of them, especially the not serious ones, either A, they're just liars, they're not doing anything, or B, they're just like building like the simplest, stupidest crap and lovable. Like that can work. You can build something totally simple for yourself, kind of what we were saying earlier, and lovable, or even Claude at this point, or Codex. But if you're trying to sell it at scale to like $1 million businesses, there's a lot of little things that have to be done to make every little thing work for these companies. And it's a lot. Like, I'm literally doing this now, right? Like, GreetForm's getting way more complicated now because I'm selling it and I'm, got these $1 million businesses using it. And there's so many little things you have to get right. And so people just need to understand when you hear people say, oh, I built this thing, like you said, I one-shotted it, and like, oh, look at how cool this is. It's like, is that actually a sellable product to a lot of people right now without spending 4 hours a day, every day, like working on it? Probably not, in my opinion.
The most difficult part too in those early stages is when you are selling to your initial customers and they're saying things to you like, oh, can we add this? Can we add this? It's like, yeah, I can add anything. Like, but is this scalable across all the future customers? Or is this just some random feature that you just thought was cool? And because I'm on the phone with you or the Zoom with you or whatever the hell, I'm just going to throw this on. And then all of a sudden you have 400 features of an app that just had to do one thing.
And that's one of the like that was not a problem in the past, right? Because resources were so constrained, building was hard. So you never would just build a feature without truly understanding the value prop. Now, because it's easy to kind of get at least the MVP version of it, it is easy to just say yes to everybody and everything. And then sometimes that's good, but sometimes that's going to cause you a lot of problems down the road. Things get bloated, things get confused. I have to worry about that a lot myself. So yeah. Shane, there's a killer one. Let's do it again soon. I got some other shit I want to show. And I've been building these HTML web apps that I want to show. Again, working really well. I don't know. I can't remember if that's related to n8n or not, but yeah, I'm trying to do a lot of cool stuff that we can show people. And I know you have a bunch of other stuff that we can go over. AI stuff, business stuff, media. So I'm excited.
Sounds good, man. Well, it was always a pleasure.
Yep. All right. Talk to you again soon.
Take care.